ABC Cinemas in Adams County. Hi, Barb.
Hi, everybody.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. This is, just so you know, this is not my first Zoom meeting, but this is the first one on my phone. So hopefully I don't do anything wrong or lose you somehow.
Well, there you go. If something happens and you get disconnected, join us back in, okay?
Okay, that sounds good.
So Barb, who we have with us today in our audience are folks that are exploring employment opportunities or employment, like different kinds of jobs and skill sets and things like that all over. And so cinemas or movie theaters are a really big selling point for everyone. So if you could, we'll start with some questions and answers and have you talk a little bit. So how long have you been at ABC Cinemas?
Okay, so my husband and I, together with our two boys, own AB Cinema. It was opened, we had our first showing November 2nd of 2017. So we have been here just a little over 3 years. When we originally opened, and we're here in downtown Decatur. When we originally opened, we were a single screen theater. In 2020, had we known what 2020 was going to be like, we maybe would have rethought things. But in February of 2020, we opened our second screen. So we are what's considered a twin now, and we are what's called a hard top as opposed to a drive-in. So that means we're inside as opposed to a drive-in. So that's a little bit of movie terminology that they use. So when we opened in November of 2017, it had been 50 years since a hardtop theater had been in Decatur. Up until then, we had the Adams Theater, which had closed 50 years prior, and we had a drive-in until the early 80s. And then that closed. So it had been 30 years since we'd had any kind of a movie theater, but 50 years since we had an inside cinema or movie theater. So.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Well, I'm guessing it was a welcome addition to Decatur.
It was. We've had, and not just Decatur, but we've had obviously great support from the local community, but we have people who come from all over to see movies here. So it's been a lot of fun. My husband and I and our two boys all have some kind of a role to play. We all work within the theater. My husband and I have other full-time jobs. So this is just kind of we call it a labor of love. It's just kind of an extra, one more thing to do, I guess.
There you go. Okay, well, thank you very much for that little brief history. So now we're going to get into some of the meat and potatoes of the conversations we're going to have with you. How many employees does the theater have?
We actually currently have 17 employees.
Okay.
All of our staff is part-time. And with that said, some of those are college students who kind of come and go when they're home for Christmas breaks or summer breaks. We have 11, I would consider, I mean, not full-time, but they're working every weekend is probably the best way to put that.
Okay, great. What can we talk a little bit about the different positions of employees that you have?
Yeah, sure. So as you can imagine, in a movie theater, obviously, we have the concessions area. There's also the, sorry, I'm getting messages. I got to get that off of there. Oops, did I lose you?
Actually, it'll come if you turn your camera. There you go.
There you are. Sorry.
That's okay.
So we have our concessions area. So we don't serve any like food. We have obviously popcorn and candy and those types of things. But we don't do any food prep as far as we don't serve actual meals. So we do pop our own popcorn here in-house. We have our register areas. So we have people who are running registers, selling the concessions, people who are making the popcorn, pouring drinks. And then we have the cleanup that we do both between movies and then also the basic cleanup we do during the shows. And then everybody is trained on every job. So that it doesn't matter who I have scheduled for any particular night. I know that they can run the register, they can pop the popcorn, they can pour the drinks. Everybody has some basic knowledge of how the projector systems work, so that they can make sure that they're on properly, that the right movie is queued up and ready to go. They don't all necessarily know the ins and outs and the mechanics of how the projectors work or how the volumes work. We, between Corey and I, which is my husband, we are kind of responsible for making sure that the movies are ready to go. But then the managers also have some basic knowledge, some more advanced knowledge, I guess, of how the projectors actually work, so they know how to make adjustments to the volumes or other things that maybe for one reason or another just don't work when it's time for them to work, right? But like I said, we do kind of have an expectation that everybody can work every job. Now, obviously, some of our staff have things that they prefer more than others.
Yeah,
I have
definitely.
some of our staff really loves to pop the popcorn. That's great. I've got other staff who absolutely love to run the register. That's great. Basically, I do the scheduling, and then they kind of, once they get here amongst themselves, figure out, okay, who's going to do popcorn, who's going to do the drinks, who's going to run the registers, that type of thing. And then from there, once the movies actually start, they'd have a little bit of downtime. They do things like check the restrooms to, make sure that they don't need more toilet paper, wipe the counters down, refill the candy, refill the bottled drinks, those types of things. And then once they get that done, it's pretty much break time. A lot of our staff, like I said, are either college or high school students. So they have homework and things like that they can work on. During COVID, when there really wasn't a whole lot going on, but we were still open, they played a lot of Uno because we have some cards and things here. So and then once the movies get over, they go in, they clean the theaters and prep them for the next people coming in for the next shows. One of the things that we really, really work hard on here is to make sure the place is clean. So often when I would go to movie theaters, you kind of stick to the floor and that kind of thing when you're walking down the aisles, and that just doesn't fly with us. So they know, that there's a lot of pride, I guess, in what we do here. And so we have some expectations that they keep the place pretty spick and span. So I think that kind of covers everything that we do as far as the day-to-day operations, for what our expectations are for our staff.
Wonderful. Well, we have some questions coming in, so I'm going to take a break from asking you questions, and I'm going to let the questions that are here come out. Let's see.
Okay.
Do you get to see the movies before they are released, and do the employees get to?
It depends. So we get the movies usually the week of release, and they come on a hard drive, just like the hard drive that's inside your computer at home or at work, and we load that into the projector. So the projector is basically like a huge computer with a projector that projects it onto the screen, and then via the internet we get what's called a key, which actually unlocks the movie. And so we get those keys usually, if it's a new release, the day before it's supposed to release to the public. And we use that time then to set volume cues. So we do, if we have time, technically, yes, the projectionist, which is the person who loads the movies into the projector and does all the double checking, they could technically watch the movie the day before a release. And it's basically the point of them watching the movie before release is not to be able to get to see it a day before, but to be able to set the volume cues, the credit cues. So there's a lot of things that we have to put into the projector, because it's, like I said, it's just a huge computer, to let it know when it's supposed to start, when the lights go down, when the lights come back up, and when it's time to turn on and turn off, and when it's time to play trailers and all that stuff. So the projectionist does get to do that. The projectionist is actually my husband, Corey. So he's the one who gets to do that. technically the projectionist is allowed to watch it the day before. So if we're on vacation or something like that, we can't assign that to somebody else to be able to come in and set those cues. But otherwise, it's not like we can have a big staff party the day before a movie comes out and everybody gets to watch it. And then we are pretty much, as part of our contract, for lack of a better term, we're pretty much sworn to secrecy. We can't divulge any information about the movies or anything like that. They do a lot of times. So in the state of Indiana, every movie has to have a screening at least 30 days prior to its release. And so those screenings are usually, technically we could go to the screenings as a movie theater owner if we are booked to show that movie. We don't usually go because they're usually like in Indianapolis, Evansville. They don't have them like in Fort Wayne where it would be pretty relatively close. We have a movie broker that we book all of our movies through, and he or his partner go to all of those screenings. So he can come back and tell us, yes, this is a movie that you would want to show. No, this is a movie that you probably don't want to show. It probably won't play well in your area, and those types of things. So it's kind of a long-winded answer to a pretty short question, but yeah, there you go.
No, that's all really wonderful information. I guess I never realized that there was a broker and a screening and, what movies will play well in your area and all of that. So thank you. That was very, very informative. Okay, some more questions. Do all employees have to work every weekend?
No. So generally speaking, as long as the staff lets me know that they're not available on any given day prior to when I make the schedule, I won't schedule them. So if they know they're going to be out of town in 2 weeks, as long as they let me know, I just don't schedule them. Otherwise, if they are scheduled, like I said, we have a lot of staff. So usually they just trade if there's something going on that weekend and they forgot to tell me, and they can trade. So we have some staff, again, most of them are high school or college kids. So like we have some staff that play various sports. And so sometimes during an entire season, they won't want to be scheduled. Like during football season, don't schedule me because we've got games and practices and I don't want to have to deal with it, or I'm too busy or whatever. And that's fine. One of the things we start everybody, no, I shouldn't say everybody, but most of our staff starts at minimum wage. And most of our staff makes somewhere between $7.50 and our managers make, upwards to like $10 an hour. But one of the advantages, even though our wages are not necessarily all that high, is they do have a lot of downtime. So between movies, they do have time to do homework and things like that. And we are super flexible as far as schedules go. So, I have one gal who has a brother who has a heart condition. So she basically hasn't worked since March because she doesn't want to come to work, get something, take it home to her brother, and get him sick. So she, whenever things settle down or, then she can make that decision when she wants to come back. But, like I said, we're really flexible as far as scheduling goes. But at this point, we are only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if I have somebody who's like, well, I really don't want to work weekends, well, then we're probably not the job for you, because that's when we're open. Prior to COVID, we were also open on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I don't know when, at what point we'll get back to Wednesday and Thursdays. But at this point, we're only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question, is there an employee discount?
So we are allowed, we're allowed 2% for every movie. We're allowed 2% what they call comps. So there isn't an employee discount, but the staff, we do allow them to come in and like when they're working, if they want to see one of the movies, they can go in and sit in on the movie, and we include that as part of the 2% comp because we don't comp out anybody else's tickets. So anybody from the outside who comes in, they pay the full rate, which our tickets are only $5. And we show first run movies. So $5 for a first run movie is not really enough for us to even comp or, give any type of a discount for a ticket and still play Hollywood. So
yeah.
So yeah, no discounts. Like I said, if they're working, they'll grab a bag of popcorn and a soda and go in and watch the movie. But other than that, everybody pays.
Okay, great. How old does someone have to be to work with you?
Generally speaking, we request everybody be at least 16.
Okay.
And that's strictly because of the labor laws in the state of Indiana. At 15 during the week, you can't work past 7. Or on Saturday and Sunday, you can't work past 7. And so our movies start at 6. So it really doesn't do me a lot of good to have a 15-year-old who can only come in and work for an hour and then they have to leave. And then I got to have somebody else come in to cover the rest of their shift. We do on occasion end up with somebody who's 15. When that happens, they basically can only work on Sunday. And they just know that going in that, if you want to come to work at 15, you can only work on Sunday because I probably could, but I'm not going to deal with the scheduling of Friday and Saturday night with them only being able to work until 7. So it's strictly a labor law thing. I have nothing against 15-year-olds. It just makes scheduling hard.
Sure, that's very understandable. Okay, so I have a very specific question.
Okay.
You talked about everyone being cross-trained, so this is a very specific question. Do I have to be able to work the cash register if I work there? If I can't count money well or quickly, would I still be a good candidate to work for you?
Okay, so as I mentioned, we do want everybody to be cross-trained. But generally speaking, when everybody gets in here, it's kind of like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And we have some people who really aren't comfortable running the register. They either don't like to do it or they're not as comfortable counting the change back. They don't feel like they can do it as efficiently as some of the other staff, but they're great with popcorn and soda and that kind of thing. So where the ideal candidate would be able to do everything, you wouldn't have to run the register on a regular basis, I guess would be the best way of putting that. The only situation would be if I ended up with 4 staff in here one night and none of them wanted to run the register, that would obviously be a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, great. I think you answered this question. Do I have to have a high school diploma? No, because you will employ people that are 16.
Actually, yes, correct.
Okay, great. How much do entry-level positions pay?
So as I said, generally speaking, unless it's somebody who's had work experience before, we start at minimum wage, which is $7.25 an hour. Now we will occasionally start at more than that. We've had people who have come to work for us who work, say, like in fast food or something like that. So they've already had some experience with or we actually had somebody who came to work for us who had worked in a movie theater before. So obviously those people, we have started at higher than that minimum wage, but most of the people, when they come to work for us, this is their first job. They're high school students. They're just looking to make a little extra money. So we generally start at the $7.25 and then we do a 60-day review. And assuming everything's gone well in that 60 days, they've been on time, and they're working towards getting trained on everything and getting proficient, then we go ahead and bump that pay up to the $7.50.
Okay,
And then, like I
great.
said, our managers make anywhere between $9 and $10.50 an hour.
Okay, wonderful. About how many hours do part-time employees get if they work with you?
Well, pre-COVID, we were generally speaking, people were working 10 to 15 hours a weekend, and we pay every 2 weeks, so 30 hours a pay period. At this point, we've been a little bit slower, and so our staff is generally working 1 day a weekend as opposed to 2. And so right now they're getting, if they work both their shifts, they are usually like 10 to 12 hours in a 2-week period. Sometimes people aren't available to work their shifts for whatever reason, so if somebody is picking up their shifts, they're working 15 to 20 hours in a 2-week period.
Great, thank you. Very specific question. Can you describe the cleaning tasks in the movie theater? Like floors, windows, bathrooms, concessions, I know you said that everyone is cross-trained, so everyone does a little bit of cleaning, but can you talk
Right.
about the cleaning tasks?
Sure. Yeah. So we do basic cleaning throughout the weekend. And the basic cleaning would entail things like sweeping the floors, both broom sweeping and sweeping with a vacuum sweeper, wiping counters down, a little bit of dishes. Like I said, we don't do food service, but we still have a few dishes that need to be cleaned every night. wiping down the counters. I think I mentioned that. Windexing the windows, wiping down the high touch areas, which has become a lot bigger deal with COVID. So we have disinfectant spray and alcohol that we use to like wipe the high touch areas, all the handles, the handrails in the cinema. We spray the seats down in the cinema with a disinfectant. So running a spray bottle, those types of things. And then our staff itself doesn't generally do the deep clean that we do every week. So usually my husband Corey and my son Carter do that. And when we do the deep clean every week, that's, cleaning the bathrooms and mopping the floors. Now we might have to occasionally mop the floor during the weekend, like if somebody spills their soda or something like that. But other than like a soda spill, or if it's really rainy and people have tracked a lot of water in, we might have to mop up some water, that type of thing. Otherwise, that's pretty much done on Monday when we do our deep clean. So our deep clean consists of mopping the floors, again, sweeping all the floors. We use a bleach mix that we use to actually wipe all the seats down. And so but that's, like I said, that's pretty much, Corey and my son Carter usually do that. Again, unless we're out of town, and then we'll get one of the other staff who's available to come in and do it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So it sounds like everybody does a little bit of touch cleaning and high touch areas and things like that, and then deep cleaning happens by additional staff people. Great.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, another question, a very specific question. If I have a physical barrier and struggle to walk up and down the stairs, or struggle to stand for a long time, or if I'm in a wheelchair, would it be effective for me to be able to apply and work there? Could I have the ability to do that?
So we do have one gentleman who works for us who does have a physical disability, and he is somewhat limited on how long he can stand. So we do provide him with a bar stool so that he can sit at various times to just kind of take a load off, so to speak. As far as the steps go, obviously to get into, or maybe not so obviously, but to get into the projector rooms, there are steps.
Okay.
In one side, there's 5 steps down and then 4 steps back up. On the other side, though, it's more stadium seating, so there's several steps to get up to the projector. So that would be something that somebody would have to be able to do. So again, if we have somebody who's working here that's in a wheelchair, then somebody else would have to do that. So one of the nice things about having, 3 or 4 or 5 people working at any one time is they wouldn't have to necessarily be you. I mean, somebody else. And honestly, usually if there's an issue with the projector, that's something the manager is going to take care of. It's usually not a staff member that we send in to do that. So I would say, I don't see any reason why someone in a wheelchair wouldn't be able to work here. They may be somewhat limited on what they can or can't do, but I would think that if that was something that we wanted to look at, we would figure out a way to work around it. So.
Great, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, is there a uniform for the employees at your theater?
So after 60 days, all of our staff get an ABCinema t-shirt that they wear. Until then, we just ask them to wear a solid colored shirt. And then we have aprons that they wear that say, that have our ABCinema logo on them. But we're pretty flexible, pretty much as they were jeans and tennis shoes, and then their tops are either their cinema shirt or a solid colored shirt, or sometimes we do things fun. Like over the summer, we were showing a lot of older movies. So they wore a lot of t-shirts that had like older movie sayings and stuff on them or whatever. At Christmas, we let them wear Christmas stuff. So yeah, we're not too crazy as far as, we don't have a set uniform, so to speak. It's kind of one of those, if they want to just wear a t-shirt, that's fine. They just wear an apron over it. So, and we provide the aprons and the shirts.
Okay, beautiful. Another question. So what about if someone has like a a mental limitation, sometimes like autism or ADHD, and sometimes they may forget things or ask a lot of questions. How is that able, is someone with those barriers able to work in the theater?
I guess we would have to look at them on an individual basis.
Okay.
Because I mean, as far as long-term remembering things, I mean, even I sometimes the gals will tell me I need a large Pepsi, and I'll turn around to pour the Pepsi and I don't remember what they asked for. So I mean, that's maybe it's just because I'm getting old. I don't know, but so as far as that goes, I don't know that it would be a huge deal. We'd probably, like I said, we'd probably have to look at it on a case-by-case basis to see how well they can function with what we do. It can be one of the biggest things that we see, and we see it with our own staff, whether they do or don't have any type of a disability, is sometimes it can be extremely fast-paced. And we have a lot of people that are coming through very quickly in a short amount of time. And when that happens, we can all get almost a little bit frazzled, but it does happen. And so obviously we need to have staff who is able to work in that kind of an environment. Other days it's really easy going and people come in, they trickle in one at a time, and it makes it really easy for everybody. So we get a little bit of both.
Okay, great. If someone was interested in working, how would they go about applying for a position with you?
So we have applications here, and they can be emailed, or people can stop in and pick them up. So if they go to our website, which is www.abcinemainc.com, there is a contact spot there. And when they go to that contact spot, it just creates an email that I get, and they can, yep, that's it. And then they can, they go to that contact, it creates an email, and they can let me know that they're interested in a position. Can you please email me an application? And I can email it to them, and then they can either email it back to me or they can drop it off here at the cinema whenever we're open.
Great. Are you currently hiring for any positions?
Right now, we're not. We are pretty well full at this point, and because of COVID, we're not looking to bring any more staff on. Hopefully this summer, once the immunizations start kicking in and we can kind of open up a little bit more, and then come to fall, we'll have students who are graduating who will need to go then, who will be going to college. And so that usually in the fall is usually when we end up having openings, because we have students who are going to leave.
Okay. What is your favorite part about working in the theater?
Oh, the people. I'm going to move around a little bit. So just hopefully I don't make anybody sick or anything like that. But honestly, the people, absolutely just love seeing our repeat customers and meeting new people. So I'm moving into one of the theaters. That way I can show you around a little bit.
Sure, that would be great while you talk.
Yeah. So I'm in our original theater right now. So this theater here seats 130 people. And it's kind of in two sections. So I came up the stairs. The bottom section is the sloped seating, and then the top section you can see is a little bit more stadium seating. And this is where I was saying there's stairs that you have to take to get into the projector, where the projector is back behind me. And then this one only has a few steps. The one on the other side has several, and I'll take you over there too. But as I was saying, the people are really just great. I mean, we have so many nice compliments and people who really appreciate the theater, and especially people who are from the area that know we haven't had one in a long time, just really enjoy coming in. And so that's by far my favorite part of it, just talking to people. I'm a people person, so it works.
Wonderful. So can you describe, when you're starting to look for people to work for you, can you describe what type of person you're looking for? What skills would someone need to bring, or what do you look for when you're hiring people?
So generally speaking, when I'm looking at hiring people, and I'm the one who actually does the hiring, is I'm looking for people who have had good attendance. So whether that be a previous job or whether that be at school, that are on time. that work well with others. So I absolutely hated doing group work when I was in school. I was one of those people who I would have much rather just let me do it and get it done and not have to deal with everybody else. But the truth of the matter is, in everything, you have to work with other people. So that's one of the things that I look at is whether they can work well with people, whether they're trainable, because honestly, very, very rarely do we have people who have worked in a movie theater before. So they have to be open to being trained. It's not rocket science what we do. I mean, we pop popcorn and we serve drinks, and the computer system, as long as you put the right information in, will tell you how much they need to pay and how much the change is and that kind of thing. But we still need to have decent math skills because we are counting back change. One of the things that we do is everything is a whole dollar here. So the tickets are $5, the drinks are $3, $4, and $5. The popcorn is $3, $5, and $7. The candy is $3. The bottled drinks are either $3 or $4. So that we included the tax in everything. So when we give change back, we give change back in whole dollars. We don't deal, I mean, unless somebody pays with change, we don't deal with change. And it just makes it easier for everybody. It makes it easier for the staff. It makes it easier for the people who are coming in. So some basic math skills. I mean, I don't need them to be able to do algebra and geometry, but I do need them to be able to, count back, for $1 bills or, whatever. Very personable people, because we are dealing with a lot of different people who are coming in and out. So that's important too. So I think those are the big things, I guess, that we look for. And obviously, like I said, being able to work well with others, because we do work in pretty close quarters as far as that goes. The concession stand area is not huge. So when you put 3 or 4 people in there, we're pretty tight. So I'm standing in our second theater. So this is the one that we just opened like less than a year ago. And it's pretty much brand new because it opened right before COVID closed us and then reopened the first week of June. So it's only been used for about 6 months, but you can see this one is a little bit different. It still has the sloped seating behind me up to the screen, but then behind me, which I'm going to turn around and show you, we actually have true stadium seating. And so because of the true stadium seating, the projector is way up here, way up there. Sorry.
We're good.
So you do have to be able to get up to it. And that's, I think there's 17 steps there because for every row of seats, there's actually 2 steps. So I think there's 17 or 18, maybe 19, 20 steps that we have to get to be able to get to the projector in this theater because of the stadium seating. So that's kind of what the two theaters look like. If you've not been here before, I certainly invite you to make a trip down. We have a lot of fun here. So
that's wonderful. Thank you.
And I don't mean to cut this short, but just so you know, I only have 16% left on my phone battery. So if we go dead, it's not because I wanted to.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, I appreciate that. Thank you for letting me know. If anyone has any other questions, go ahead and type those in the chat. And Barb, is it possible for you to take us to the lobby for a quick view?
Yep, I'm in here right now. So right behind me, there's a picture of what our theater looked like when we originally opened. It doesn't look anything like that now. We've completely redone the entire front. And I'll send you a picture of that when I send the other pictures so you can see what it looks like now, because it doesn't look like that. But here is the actual, we're in the lobby area. So that was the door I just came out of for the new theater. Here's the door for the original theater. And then this is the actual concessions area. So we've got 2 registers. So 1 and 2. And then we've got all of our candy is in the candy counter. I'm trying to look at the same time. It's not working very well. So the candy counter. And then we've got bottled drinks. So a variety of bottled drinks. And then we've got, everything is like backwards. And then we have our fountain drinks. And then here is our popcorn popper. And this is the biggest counter popcorn popper you can get. So it's a counter popcorn popper because it sits on the counter. It's not a freestanding popper. which would
Okay.
have a base underneath it. Those things are huge. We wouldn't have room for anything that big. But this is the popcorn popper. And then we also do slushies. So this is our slushie machine. And on Sunday, when we close on Sunday night, this all gets cleaned out, which is why you don't see anything in anything. We disassemble the fountain machine so that we can clean all of the nozzles and everything. And then Monday, after Corey gets done doing his deep clean, he reassembles the fountain machine, so it's ready to go for Friday night. And then when they come in on Friday night, they'll pop fresh popcorn, they'll make fresh slushies. So everything is fresh as far as that goes.
Wonderful, great. Again, this is the last call for questions for Barb at the theater. If you want to go ahead and type those in our chat room, that will be great. Barb, I have another question.
Okay.
What inspired you and your family to open up this theater?
Oh my gosh. So it's actually kind of a funny story. We had tried twice over spring break in 2017. We're good friends with Drew Hall, who owns the theater in Portland, which is south of us. And we tried twice to go down and see Beauty and the Beast, the live action Beauty and the Beast in 2017, March 2017. And first time we went, the weather turned terrible. There was bad storms. And so we had to turn around and come home. Second time we got down there, and it was about 10 minutes after the movie was supposed to start, and the projector wasn't working properly. And so we didn't get to see it. And we were driving back from Portland, and I said to my husband, well, we ended up going and getting ice cream because I was like, ice cream makes everything better. So we went to the Dairy Queen and got ice cream. And I said, I just don't understand why Decatur doesn't have a movie theater. I mean, if Van Wert can have one and Portland can have one, why doesn't Decatur have one? And so he was like, well, where would you put one? And I was like, well, I don't know. And so we just kind of got talking about it, and we bantered it around. And honestly, by the time we left Dairy Queen, we had like drawings on a napkin, and we had roughed out a business plan, and we're like, why wouldn't it work? And so the next day we made a few phone calls. We called Drew down in Portland. He was wonderful. He's like, absolutely, you guys could make it work. And he put us in contact with our movie broker, and he put us in contact with equipment companies, because we knew nothing. I mean, we knew nothing. You talk about, I didn't realize this, that, and the other thing. Trust me, we didn't know. And, we're business people anyway. My husband already owned 2 of his own businesses, and we owned rental properties, and I work in a small family owned insurance agency. And we just thought it would work. We did not realize how much work it was going to be. I'll be completely honest with you, because we took 2 downtown buildings then, and we had to completely gut them and create a movie theater. So that nothing was here. Everything that you see, everything that I've shown you, we created. They were just empty buildings. And then we replicated it on the other side when we did the second screen, which was much easier because we knew what we were doing the second time around, and we knew the mistakes that we made the first time, so we didn't make them again the second time. But it was just one of those things where we just thought Decatur needed it, and we thought it would work. And it has, and we've gotten such amazing community support. We're so happy that we did it. Hindsight being 2020, I don't know if I would do it again, honestly, especially after the year we've had with COVID. But we love it, and we're here to stay. But there was such a learning curve. I mean, we really had no idea what was going to be involved. But we just thought the community needed it. And we've had so many parents and grandparents say how much they appreciate knowing that their kids can come to the movies here and see first run movies and not have to go to Fort Wayne or, drive out of town to do that. And it's just created a place where families can go and gather and, have fun together. And so it's been great. We've loved it. We're super glad we did it. But like I said, if I'd have known everything that would be involved, I don't know. I don't know if we would have done it, but we're glad we did.
Absolutely. That's great. I see no further questions from anyone. You have been a joy to have and to answer our questions. We really appreciate your time.
Not a problem. And if somebody does come up with more questions, I think Taylor's got my email. She can certainly email them, or they can just go, like I said, they can go right on our website and just hit the contact us, okay. And they can email them to me too. That's fine.
Okay, That's great. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the tour and all the inside information.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you. It's been
about
fun.
Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.